Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Dr. Cammy and Karen Go Keto, where Dr. Cammy and I are transitioning from a standard American diet to a ketogenic lifestyle, a carnivore lifestyle, maybe even a low carb lifestyle, however you want to caption it. We're trying to get rid of processed foods, high carbohydrate foods, and transition to a lifestyle that supports what we hope would lead to better health. Cammy, what are we going to talk about today?
Good morning, everybody. Today, we are excited to be launching a series. We're going to be diving into a fascinating and important topic about paying attention to how your feelings and your emotions can help you. Paying attention to them can help you transition into the ketogenic lifestyle and get you into better health. And we have 7 different topics that we're going to talk about. And we're going to try to insert in this video a PDF that's going to describe for you the 7 different topics that we're going to be discussing.
All right, today we're going to cover the first topic, which is going to be identify emotional triggers. So, this whole thing is about talking about paying attention to your emotions and feelings. And Cammy and I both claim the wear the hat of the sugar addict. And we know that there are certain times when we eat more sugar than other times. And Cammy, if you've seen other videos, has a little binge issue on occasion. And I want to have a binge issue. So that, there are days when I would just love to eat a whole entire sheet cake that I've made. That was the old days. It took a lot to not eat a whole entire. I have been known to eat all of a brownie mix, raw brownie mix, because I love raw brownie mix. So we are going to talk about the identifying emotional triggers, because if you recognize the situation or a feeling that leads to you, sometimes we might refer to it as bad behavior, which I hate, but it might just roll off our tongues, but leads to behavior that leads you to eat off of a plan that you already, that you have in place that says, I eat healthy foods. I don't eat processed foods. I don't drink Diet Coke, and yet I will drink Diet Coke. So what are those situations and feelings? And can we understand any patterns that might arise to avoid doing it another time? So today I went through McDonald's twice and I didn't get a Diet Coke either time. So Cammy, what do you have to say about this topic?
Well, I totally agree with you, Karen. I think regarding the patterns, and I think that's why it's key to keep a journal about why you do this. And I do have a binge evaluation form that we're going to get online for you. And it talks about different, it's something that I have used it in the past, and it would be best for me to continue using it now for the binges that I have. I've gotten lazy and I haven't used it because I know how to think about those things. But Karen is right about putting things on paper continues the conversation. And I think that's really important to do. So it talks here about when it was, how much I weighed at the time, my sleep work status, foods that I ate, other addictions. When did I go to any meetings? There's people that have food addictions that tend to have other addictions. What made the binge happen? When was this known? Does the reason make sense? And then at the end, thoughts, new action, and journal. So we'll get that on there for you. For me, specific triggers that I've noticed in looking at these patterns are my mother. Anytime I am looking at pre-visit, during visit, and post-visit. Not so much during visit because she scolds me for eating food, so I don't eat food around her, like hardly ever. I'll eat before and I'll eat after. That's a big trigger for me. Going past Peterson's Donuts on Escondido Boulevard in Escondido is a huge trigger for me. And I know that when I go by there, I call Cindy usually, and I talk to her as I drive past the Peterson's Donuts. Anytime my boys aren't doing well, it creates emotional triggers for me. Anytime I'm wrong about something, if I feel like I wasn't smart enough, or somebody corrected me, or there was a confrontation, that's another time where I'll really want to be triggered to have emotional eating. And the other thing I wanted to just mention was sometimes it won't happen for me till hours later. Like, I won't think about eating food off plan until 3 hours later that I had this conversation with somebody, and I can feel it, paying attention to your physical feelings, and I can feel it inside. It's usually in my solar plexus, down a little bit, in the middle of my gut, high, and I can have this little twinge in there, and I'm learning how to pay attention to that too. So all those things can help us prevent, identifying the emotional triggers is really key, because that can help us continue to eat on our plan.
Well, and I think having the plan in the first place is a good idea, or at least putting down on paper what you are up to as far as what you want to accomplish in eating healthier. And then, because that way you know where you want to go, right? That's the map. And then you have to recognize what's taking you off course. And for me, I noticed that when I was prepping for this talk, the things that really triggered me were when my mom was in the hospital with one of her strokes, and I was driving by the Oberweis and having the chocolate malts every day. And when Tim was in the hospital, it was just convenient. Well, I don't know. I say it was just convenience that made me get a Diet Coke. But wherever I bought a Diet Coke, I could have had water. But I chose the Diet Coke, and that was in the hospital. And I'm sure both of those were comforting old patterns. And now I see that when there's something, when Tim, that's my husband who passed away a couple of years ago, um, I see I get sad, or I want to recreate the memories that I had with him of having, like driving past the DQ in Round Lake, which is where we used to have chocolate shakes all the time, or chocolate malts. And he didn't go to Oberweis. We would just do Round Lake. And it's funny, or Mundelein. And it's funny because it's just those two. I could be driving past Dairy Queens right and left in other towns, and it doesn't come up. But
Mm.
when I'm in those specific towns where I shared them with Tim, it comes up. And, for you, like you, sometimes the things trigger later. And so it's when you do eat off plan, I think it's best to memorialize it so you can look at it. And, it doesn't have to be a binge. It can just be, why do I keep doing this? What is the attitude that I have that I keep saying a Diet Coke? Um, One of the things is, for me, is tortilla chips at a Mexican restaurant and breadbasket at a non-Mexican restaurant, right? So why, if I just say, no, I don't want the chips. Remember, we did that when you came here and visited me. No, we don't eat chips. I think maybe we can talk about this in another video, where you put something in place that says, no, I don't want the chips. You have to practice it. Practice it in the mirror. Practice it at every restaurant. You could go to an Italian restaurant and say, are you bringing me tortilla chips? Because I don't want them. I mean, it sounds silly, but at least it reinforces I don't eat chips. So we're going to get on to the other two topics. And thank you for watching. And we're trying to get a little more structure in our talks. And I hope this helps. Subscribe, like, do whatever. We hope to see you again soon. Bye, guys.
Thanks, everybody. Keep your diaries.